What's going on, everybody? I will start it here in just a second, per usual. Make sure to like the video, share it. Good morning, Roberto. Good morning, Harris. Good morning, Hamza. Luis, Oki. Good morning. Please make sure to like the video. That's all I ask. I'll be back here in just a second, and then we'll get started. All right, I'm going to get started here. Can everybody hear me? Thank you, Harris. It's fine. I don't know how many people are going to be tuning in today. Day before NFP. Yesterday was kind of... This whole week's been Roosta. Vigo, good to see ya. Brian, what's good, my brother? Maddie, Jay, Rick, Luis, if I haven't already said that. Dynamo, good to see you guys here. Alright, as long as you can see the screen, that's all I really care about, and you can hear me well. Alright, so let's dig into recap on yesterday if you guys were there for the live stream during the FOMC event. I talked about a few things in terms of, actually let me move this space heater over. The two-stage event on FOMC that typically plays out where the first 30 minutes is a little bit less volatile, and then the second half you can see it kind of pick up and the real move starts to happen. So you guys were able to observe that yesterday. I thought it was an interesting study. Really nothing there for me to take. I think ES was the cleaner out of them if we were going to execute on an idea. But there just wasn't anything to execute on. This whole week to me, as I've explained before, if you're looking at the economic calendar, which is your guide and your roadmap every single week, when you have FOMC and you have NFP stacked on top of each other, it creates a low probability week in general. And you want to be looking at Monday and Tuesday to capitalize on. And if you can't capitalize on those days, then for the most part, you have to sit still and do nothing. Like on me, I took a loss on Tuesday. Ideally, I would have, liked to be in profit and be done for the week. So the hardest part is being able to sit on your hands the rest of the week and do nothing when you're negative for the week. But that's discipline. That's part of the rule set. You're going to see today that I guarantee you today's not going to be anything of any fruitful price action, in my opinion. I've already have traded this type of environment time and time, years and years, over and over again. The Thursday before NFP is usually very lethargic, very manipulated, doesn't do much. So I don't have high expectations for today. You shouldn't either. I mean, if I wasn't live streaming, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be on the charts personally. I would be off doing something else. And then even tomorrow, we'll see what happens. I mean, sometimes after NFP, it can be really clean and a smooth price run. But if you're newer, I would recommend to just stay out of NFP. After Tuesday, like a week like this week, you're done. You have to find something else to do with your life. If you can't, obviously you need to create that. So hopefully it makes sense to everybody. And this isn't coming just from my mouth. This is coming from our mentor, ICT. So let's take a look at the weekly time frame on NQ here and what we're overall looking at. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but can you please like the video? I'd appreciate it. It just puts the video out in the YouTube algorithm better. So yesterday, I wanted to see if we could expand out of here. But we have a few things that are on the agenda in terms of intermarket relationships. Dollar index, we're still consolidating on the daily time frame. So I'm curious to see what happens tomorrow. If we can get out of that consolidation, that would be really, really nice to see. YM started to drop lower and started to get a little bit better into sync with ES and NQ yesterday. So that was good to see. We'll have to see if this lends support next week or even tomorrow for higher prices. I'm still iffy on that. Same with the daily time frame. This inefficiency here. So from that low to that high there, and we have a small volume imbalance resting above price currently. So this in here is our volume imbalance. We may want to trade up into that before dropping off lower. To me, I don't really have a clear bias. I mean, I'm neutral on the day and on the week, to be completely honest, but I mean, gun to my head, I would probably look for lower prices, to be honest. Gun to my head, I would look for lower prices. Just because I'm looking at dollar index, looking at the other indexes, that would logically make the most sense. Inside of the 4-hour inefficiency here, yesterday we dug down into that with FOMC. Good morning, Tom. Yep, I mean, it's just one of those days where I'm already aware of it. We've already been guided. If you've been watching ICT and you're aware of him, you understand that the day before NFP is very low probability. So, and with FOMC being yesterday and this whole week. So, again, on the 4-hour, I don't have an opinion. I don't really know. Yesterday with FOMC, we ran up into the volume balance, which was the new day opening gap. There's a few things in here, but this is a previous new week opening gap and then the new day opening gap. Ran up into it yesterday, and then we dropped off lower. I was annotating ES and the sell side liquidity pools. I thought those were fairly easy to spot. I think you guys saw that as well. It was really easy to see. You could see here, FOMC ran up into the volume balance again and dropped off lower. So right now we're kind of just range bound. We're stuck inside of a range in a sense. I mean, we could head off lower in here. I particularly don't. I don't have an opinion. I mean, I can't put it any more clear. With these type of days before major news event drivers, I like to stay neutral and not have a hardline bias. You can even see the entire overnight session coming into this morning. I mean, we've been basically flat, right? We haven't done much. So we just opened up. And looking at a 15-minute time frame, I mean, to me, this is where I don't have an opinion. I don't know how else to put it. I'm trying to put myself in a beginner's shoes and at least trying to make them understand what bad price action looks like, unfavorable, low probability price action looks like. Welcome for all those who are new. Again, if you can like the video, I'd appreciate it. We're only at 50 likes in here. We got 180 people in here. I wonder if a lot of people are taking today off and actually taking good advice for today, which is good. I mean, again, if I wasn't live streaming, I wouldn't be paying attention to these charts, to be completely honest. Good morning, Luca. Good morning, Christopher. Good morning, Wolf. Zach. Good morning. Good morning, Mitch. Just quick observations. I mean, based off of what I'm seeing, I'd probably be looking at lower prices, but then again, I don't particularly know. Everything I say today on this live stream means nothing. Please don't take this advice. Don't take any trades today. If I do something, it's going to be on paper trading just for fun. But again, I'm not going to be trading this on a live account by any means. Let me see here. So the 1 hour time frame we have. So order block in here that we're rejecting off of. We may want to trade up into particularly the CE of this wick from yesterday from FOMC. So I'm going to annotate that, at least the 50% of that wick. And let's see if we can dig up into that. So we've taken out sell side multiple times in here, so I wouldn't really be trying to push a short, to be honest with you. Even though it's the reason I'm leaning on a more short bias is because dollar index. I think with tomorrow, I would elect to believe it's gonna seek higher prices. That's just my personal view on dollar index currently, so we'll have to see. Accidental, you're all right, brother. So we're inside of this 15-minute inefficiency here. Yesterday we took out buy side liquidity. We ran right up into a new day opening gap, and we dropped off lower. Particularly on ES, I thought it was a very clean bias and everything was aligned. It was just there wasn't as many entries. There was really only one entry during FOMC for me to go short, and wasn't able to participate. So let me see with, looks like the March contract has a much larger volume imbalance. So it's an interesting interesting study. Let me go over that for a second. I did this yesterday and it wasn't there. No, it's still the same. I just deleted all that. Higher time frame price looks pretty bearish to me after FOMC. Yeah. Again, I'm not super hard lined on any decisions today. Welcome everybody who's tuning in. If you could please like the video, I'd appreciate it. Let's highlight the 15-minute time frame and where we're at. So this 15-minute inefficiency here. The fact that we've already taken out buy side liquidity above these highs, so particularly that high there, it would make me weary of wanting to long something, because if the work has already been done to take out buy side liquidity, then there's no need to rally towards buy side. I'm not saying that it can't, but I don't particularly see that as a valid option. If you've already taken out buy side or sell side, then that area has already been cleaned up. There's no particular reason to rally towards that. But again, for those tuning in, today is the day before NFP. So guidelines, protocols that we have tell us not to trade. And I follow those rules because they protect me. And I've seen it time and time again that that's what works. So hardest thing to do is to sit and not do anything. It really, really is. Everybody says, you know, to sit still and do nothing, but it's a difficult skill to obtain, especially if you're sitting in front of the charts. You want to do something because you feel as if that when you make money, you're being productive. And when you're not doing anything, you're not being productive. But in reality, it is doing something. You are being productive. You are making money in a sense when you are doing nothing because you're protecting your capital. You're protecting your mental capital. You're doing a lot of things, right? So it's very key and important to make note of that when you're sitting still and it feels like, man, I should be doing something. I should be pressing into this today. you're doing a good thing. You're following rules and discipline, protecting equity. I mean, that's the number one thing as a trader is we're risk managers and we're equity managers, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day if we're able to play defense very, very well. I can play offense, but playing defense is very difficult, right? You have to be able to sit on your hands, not do anything. Like, defense is, anybody can play offense. Anybody can get in here and click a button. It's that easy, right? But to play defense means you have to be critically thinking about not pressing a button, knowing when not to press a button, knowing when not to trade, holding yourself back, controlling yourself. All of those things are much, much harder than, my opinion, playing offense. I need a trade copier. Can anybody recommend one? Depends what you're trading, futures or Forex. I mean, I could recommend one. Good morning, Slink Games. Good morning, Will Trades. Good morning, we are in the daily, weekly up. What should you look for? I mean, again, you have to look at the economic calendar and the weekly profile over both of those, which were the day before NFP. So it tells me not to do anything. How are you doing this morning? I'm good, Wolf. I am very good. Hope you are as well. Forex, there is... Shoot, why am I blanking? Somebody help me out here. Why am I blanking? I know exactly what the one I was just using. Give me a second. I stopped trading Forex and I forgot what trade copier was. It's at the tip of my tongue. Social Trader Tools. Yes, thank you. That's a good one. I've used that, and there's one other one that I'm blanking on that I was using. Traders Connect. Thank you. Yeah, both of those are really good. I would recommend them. Good morning, Hucklehead. My biz? Yeah. Welcome. I know you're new here, so welcome. But for the most part, I'm trading Silver Bullet or trading the macro right before it at the end of it. Thank you, Hucklehead. I appreciate it. I wonder why there's a little less views today, to be honest with you. I think most people are actually not trading today, which is good. Oh, Wolf, I can't today. My brain is fried. And I don't think my mod's in here today. Even he's not doing anything. Vigo, you're up to bat, if anybody asks. They're blowing their accounts, yeah. I mean, even ICT in our private group chat, I want to click on Telegrams, but that's where our charter membership is. Even he was saying today, he's like, it's NFP week, don't be liquidity, which really resonated with me. I was like, yeah, don't be stupid. Don't be stupid, Caleb. Don't go into the market and be liquidity and do something that you know you shouldn't be doing. I've done it before plenty of times. Thank you, Oki. I knew I was forgetting something. There is news at 9, so I want to see how that plays out. We'll see, but as far as like price action right now, we're very range bound. This is not something I would want to be participating in. I just finished core content. I also have core content commentaries, which is on YouTube. Should I watch that? Yeah, I mean, the whole main part of these concepts is the core content is not like, I hate to burst your bubble. It is just so you can understand the language in which he speaks in. It's as if you're learning a new language like Spanish or French or Italian. Once you learn the language, you know how to speak it, then you can start learning how to utilize certain models that he has, right? Because then that will make sense to you. Because if you didn't know what a fair value gap was, you didn't know what a breaker was, you didn't know what mitigation, you didn't know all these certain things, then when he speaks about it in a model, you'd be like, I don't understand any of this. So it's like a dictionary, basically the core content. I mean, that is a very long, hard journey to go through the core content, but it's worth it. I mean, I don't, if you had to personally ask me, I think somebody could never watch the core content and still be very successful. I think they could watch the 2022 playlist and be very successful. But again, that's all, it just depends on your style and your personality. If you're somebody like me who loves this shit and you can't get enough of it, you're somebody who's a fanatic, somebody who wants to constantly know everything about the market, then you're going to watch everything that that dude ever puts out. Which, I mean, I've gotten to a point where I've watched basically everything he's ever put out. And then I got to a point where, okay, there's nothing else new that he's putting out, nor do I need anything else. So you'll be coming to a point where you're content enough with your education and your ability, and you don't want to watch any more ICT. You don't need any more of him. I mean, that took me 4 years, close to 5 years of spending time with him. I mean, even all last year, I was watching his live streams. I was on it every single day. I learned so much last year with his live streams. That's what's inspired me to do live streaming, because it really taught me how to read a 1-minute time frame, how he views the market, in the morning, and silver bullet, etc. Yep, Hucklehead. Stiller, how did... no, I start 22 or charter. I would start the 2022 mentorship. Do not start with charter. I think you're going to get lost with that. How did FOMC go yesterday? It was good. All the predictions went correct. I just wasn't able to participate, which is fine. I didn't really have the expectation of going in to the market yesterday. So we have high impact news on Monday, Thursday next week. Nothing on Tuesday and Wednesday. Would you set out those days? Not necessarily. I think some people are very strict with that, where like if there's no news event drivers, they don't participate. But each day is unique. Some days there's not news event drivers and the market's moving. So I have to sit down and watch price, and if I see that, okay, it's really lethargic today, it's not moving, there's no clearly one-sided draw on liquidity, and there's no news event drivers, then I'm probably going to sit out. I'm not going to do anything. But if I can see that there's a clear draw on liquidity, the price is moving pretty efficiently, I still will participate in the market. So I'm not one of those where I have to just sit and only trade with news event drivers. I'm a little bit flexible. And that's why I like scalping and day trading, because I don't need a whole bunch. There are much going on about time and price. Is that... no, I mean, that's all you need. I mean, that's a vague question. Like, yeah, time and price, but time and price are also those are very vast concepts in and of itself. I mean, yes, those are the only two things you need, but in and of itself, those two things have a lot, right? So you can see this is the 1 hour time frame. Again, this is the type of price action that we're going to get the day before FOMC, or NFP, I'm sorry. I mean, I want to see what the silver bullet news event driver does to price, but more or less today I'll probably be answering questions and going on little rants about psychology, probably. Which I appreciate everybody being here today. I know could be off doing something else. Casper, good to see you, brother. I think you're new here, right? I think I saw you here yesterday. Good to see you. What's up, honey? Good morning. I think I'm pronouncing your name right. Mitch? Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to expect before, like FOMC, I don't trade the AM sessions. The reason I didn't live stream it, because that's the type of price action I expect. You've been lurking in here for a week now. I know there's a lot of people that just don't chat, which is, it's fine. I was the same way. I don't really chat unless I need to say something. Do you also take trades before news event drivers? Typically, no. I usually wait for the news event drivers to play out. Unless I see something that's extremely clear and one-sided and my model's there, then I will take a trade before a news event driver. And it's not going to be a major one. It's not going to be like FOMC, NFP, CPI. Those I will steer clear away from in general, and I'll never take a trade before them. That's something like core retail sales, something along that lines where it's a high impact news, but not like super high. If there's something clear, then I'll take it. But if you haven't noticed, I haven't even panned down to like a 5 minute or 1 minute, because when you look at these higher time frames, I can clearly see that we're in side consolidation. We're not doing much. So for me to go down to a 1 minute time frame, I mean, there's nothing in here. This is something I don't even really want to read. Thank you, Roberto. I mean, we'll see if that's even of any use today, to be honest with you. For all those who are tuning in, if you could please like the video, I appreciate it. It really, really helps these videos and get it out there. So I do appreciate it. We're trying one of these days to get ICT in here, but we will see. It was my goal to get him in the first month, but so far, no luck. Not that I'd even really want him watching today. In general, I think today it's going to be terrible in terms of price. What's going on, ICT Algo? Good morning. Morning, Alex. Good to see you. So yeah, that's our RTH gap in here. Again, I'm highlighting the liquidity void in there. So that's what's basically left open. So if we do drop off lower, you can use that as a draw on liquidity. RTH gaps are something that you can utilize for a draw on liquidity. So if you're bearish on a day and you see a really clean sell side liquidity pool. So for an example, like let's say we're super bearish today and we could clearly see that the sell side wanted to be ran in here. It's an extra added confluence to have the RTH gap in the same area. If it was larger, then obviously that's even better, because you can see that, well, if it wants to drop off lower, it's going to seek the sell side, it's going to seek the RTH gap. And even if we get underneath the RTH gap, you can treat it much like an inversion fair value gap, because it's going to treat it as resistance. So if price dug underneath, let's say this fair value gap, the sell side, and dug underneath that RTH gap, and then we came up in here and we have a fair value gap inside of the RTH, you can utilize that as confluence. So utilize that as an inversion, right? So even though you can't see that on the electronic trading hours, you're utilizing that with RTH. So go back and back test that, study it. I've always loved using RTH and confluence with whatever trade ideas conspiring around it. How do I utilize the 1 hour candle? It's as much like I've talked about this theory that I personally have came up with the silver bullet. It doesn't always play out. It's never 100%, but I've talked about this before. I think Wolf has asked me a few questions on it. But the reason I have that on there is when we roll into the silver bullet, think about the concept of power of three. Think about the 1 hour time frame as if it's a daily candle. Because if you're only focusing on 1 hour of time, right, the silver bullet, think of the 1 hour candlestick as if it's a daily candlestick. And you're looking at power of three and saying, okay, where's the open? If we're going to open and I'm overall bearish, so let's say we open up next candle, grab this, we open up the next candle here. If I'm expecting lower prices, then I want to see the high, I want to see manipulation first. I want to see the high set, and then I want to see if we can gravitate beneath the opening of that 1 hour time frame candlestick, because I'm thinking of power 3 much like a daily candle, right? So you're utilizing the power of 3 in a 1 hour time frame candlestick, and we're only focusing on 1 hour time, right? If you're only trading a silver bullet, then that 1 hour candlestick means a lot to you, because you're focusing on 1 hour of time. So that's the way I utilize it. And if you're really in sync with price, then you're looking at power 3, you're looking at basically accumulation, manipulation, distribution. So I have a video on my Twitter over it, to be honest with you, if you go to highlights. I've talked about it before. 4 hour time frame power 3 is also crazy. Yeah, I mean, ICT has talked about if you treat the 1 hour or the 4 hour as if it's a daily chart, a whole new world opens up to you, because you're treating it much like you would treat like a daily chart. And that's a little bit more advanced, but it really does open up your eyes to understand what scalping's like. How would you combine the 2022 model with Silver Bullet? It's the same thing that I just talked about with the Power of 3. Is if I'm expecting lower prices in the Silver Bullet hour, let's combine Power of 3 2022 model with Silver Bullet. So for an example here, let's say this just opened up and we open up here. The 2022 model combined with Power of 3 and Silver Bullet, I would be expecting the high to be set first. If I'm looking for lower prices overall in Silver Bullet, I'd be looking for the high to be set, and I'd be looking for that high to be taking out some buy-side liquidity pool. So I know, combining with Power of 3, that, okay, the high of the hour should be being set. And what is that doing? That's taking out buy-side liquidity. And then I should see a drop beneath the opening price of the 1 hour candlestick, which is that displacement lower on the 2022 model. So we have buy side being taken, high of the hour being set, then a drop lower, and then you should see your fair value gap being formed to go short for the expansion lower on the 1 hour time frame candlestick to form that low and close of Power of 3. So hopefully that makes sense, is you're combining kind of those three concepts. Power of 3 is very, very powerful. It's a very easy concept to understand, but to utilize it is a different thing. And every candle within 2 weeks happens a Power of 3 within that. Yeah, I mean, even on 1 minute time frame, there's a Power of 3, but it's obviously it's a little less high probability quote because it's only a 1 minute time frame. But each candlestick does have Power of 3: open, high, low, and close. That's all the market operates on in terms of candles. Yeah, I mean, even a 3-day look back is a very powerful concept. He has a video on YouTube over that, where if you're just looking at the previous 3 days and looking at the highs and lows, and that's what the algorithms are referring back to. So if you're ever struggling on narrative, you're struggling on bias, and you don't understand it, well, just put your focus on the last 3 days. Look at the last 3 days, highs and lows, and where's the liquidity sitting at, and see if the algorithm wants to seek those levels. I mean, algo trading. I mean, that's a question I get a lot. You know, what time frame should I look for liquidity to be taken? I mean, particularly, I'm going to put it as this: every single time frame is important. But if I was simply looking at the 2022 model, focused on the 15 and the 5-minute time frame liquidity pools coming into a session, like for an example, I'd be looking at these highs here. If we were really to be short in here, we could take out the buy side. Let me put it this way as well. You don't always need buy side taken. You don't always need sell side taken. That's why the 2022 model is one model out of a lot of models. That's the reason why I have multiple models, because the 2022 model is not going to form every single day. You're not always going to have buy side liquidity ramp. Sometimes you just get a displacement lower or higher away from wherever you opened, and it displaces towards the drawn liquidity. It doesn't mean that you need buy side taken. So go over to my charter member models. I have a little bit better explanation of that and the reasons you need to be looking for those certain ideas. STWO, appreciate that. I try to do my best to at least teach in here rather than just sitting and looking at price and taking trades. I don't think that does anything for anybody. And particularly, I'm trying to teach in the way that I would want to be taught as a younger student. I want to be taught knowledge. I could honestly care less about signals. I want to be taught information. So 5-minute, we're kind of just residing inside of here. I mean, buy side liquidity above us. In this instance is what I was just talking about, is we may not need to take out buy side liquidity in here because we've already ran a little bit here. But if you're inside of a parent bearish PD array like this 15-minute fair value gap, it wouldn't need to run up and take out buy side liquidity before we drop lower. Why? Because we're already inside of a bearish PD array. We're already inside of that fair value gap. So it shouldn't need to run up above the buy side before dropping lower because we're already rejecting off of a bearish PD array. So you have to understand where you're at in the market and where price is referring to. Yeah, exactly, algo trade. I mean, that's where experience and time comes into play, and also narrative that I harp on a lot. How did you go about mapping your mental flaws per mental game of trading? Well, that's, for me, is you're being the detective first and keeping a notepad next to you during your sessions, and then even having a video camera on, and then going back and reviewing your kind of things that you're doing, the certain phrases that you say out loud or even inside, mentally, certain ticks and things that you do leaning forward. You're really only going to be able to see a lot of your flaws through like a heated session, something that really gets you going. So if you ever have those days where it's super volatile and a lot of things are happening, that's the days you really need to be journaling and really digging deep into figuring out your common flaws. Thank you, Romer. Yeah, if everybody can like the stream, I really don't feel like being a broken record, but it really does help. What is EHPDA? I think you're referring to IPDA. That's the name of the algorithm that ICT is designed, quote unquote. So in the meantime, we have about 2 minutes. I'll stick on here. I was going to go over a dollar index, but we have about 2 minutes until the news event driver. I want to see how that plays out. We look at ES and YM, see what they're doing, what they're trading like. I mean, ES is stagnant, doing nothing. Same with YM. I mean, they're both, to me, in no man's land. No man land basically means that I could see both sides. I don't have a clear view, and it's telling me not to do anything. Scroller, I've traded Forex for many years. If index futures ever got into a very consolidational profile and I saw Forex opening up, then I would elect to trade that. I mean, I could just trade the euro contract or the pound contract, but for now, I don't see a reason to trade Forex. I mean, look at where dollar's at. It's not high probability at all. STWO, it's called The Mental Game of Trading by Jared Tindler. So there's the news event driver that just released. You can see in here, if you go down to 1 minute, we actually gapped lower on that. So we opened, closed here, and then we opened down here. So there's a gap. I went down to like a second chart. So I'd like to believe that the sell side would want to be targeted. Again, I guess that's a good example of how the 2022 model, we're not expecting buy side liquidity to be ran because we're already rejecting off of a fair value gap in here. So you need to understand where you're at in the market when anticipating the 2022 model. Thank you, Wolf. I mean, yeah, it's the real definition of what the IPDA means. look for external highs and lows. Yeah, so like if you're looking at the 2022 model, looking at those external and internal is that's a difficult concept for some people to understand. To me, it's inside and outside. Really, that's the easiest way to put it, inside and outside. But internal and external can be a little tricky because the market's so fractal. It could be external on one time, but also be internal on another, right? So it depends what time frame you're looking at. On a 15-minute time frame, these are both external liquidity pools. That's external, right? Because it's outside of it. Everything inside of that dealing range is internal. But if I went out to a 1 hour, a 4 hour, all of this would be internal. So it depends what time frame you're looking at when you're talking about internal and external. I hope so too, Roosta. I mean, we'll see what tomorrow plays out like. I'm not surprised that NFP didn't do anything. When you have double major news event drivers stacked on top of each other, sometimes one of them does nothing and then the other one will push that asset class out of its range. I would elect to believe with NFP it's gonna push it out of it, to be honest. We've been stuck in that range for like 2 weeks now. It's quite crazy. So that box in there was the 5-minute fair value gap. So we displaced underneath it, utilizing that as an inversion. So I just want to see if this would lend support to take out sell side. Digging into the RTH, basically fully close that in. You're welcome, Romer. Hopefully, yeah, that was a clear explanation. I mean, how do you interpret flat bottom / top candles? I think you're talking about doji. I mean, doji candles can be indecisive, but I'm not looking at candlestick patterns to give me any. I mean, the only time I'll use, candlestick patterns is on a daily time frame. If we get an inside day, which means we close within the previous day's high and low, an inside day can give you insight that the next day could be volatility. An outside day where you've taken out the previous day high and the previous day low, that can give you insight to the next day being seek and destroy or consolidation, because you've taken out both sides of liquidity, right? You wipe the board. So I can use those patterns on a daily time frame better than a lower time frame. Indices can still go higher. Yeah, I mean, if dollar index is inside of consolidation, index futures are allowed to move freely. That's the profile that ICT has given us, which you've seen over the last couple of weeks. Dollar has done nothing, but index futures have moved freely. So if index futures are ever in consolidation, dollar index also vice versa could be moving freely. So you need to be aware of those profiles and need to know when to utilize the dollar index for your analysis. So like right now, I'm not paying attention to dollar index because it means nothing to me until we start really moving clearly one-sided. Yeah, exactly, Ghost. I mean, that's what I just talked about. There's a lot of buy side above us currently. Again, if you're just tuning in, I mean, this day before NFP is the day that we're guided and outlined not to trade it per ICT. So you have to be aware of that. Understand the profile that you're in, the week that you're in. Because if you're a newer student, you haven't been outlined these type of rules, then you're going to be going into a day before NFP, a day before FOMC, trying to push it, and you're wondering, well, why is price? It's so manipulated, man. I can't find direction. I'm getting stopped out. Well, that's because you're not understanding what's going on. News event drivers are a key focus of every single week. They give you and lend you insight to what you should expect for the week and your expectations. If you're just blindly going out there without a roadmap, without a GPS, then you're just blindly driving. You have no idea what's going on. Dope RE. I mean, the only thing I have on the ICT higher time frame candlestick is just one daily candlestick, and that's it. That's all I have. Same for this. Thank you for that. Yes, a new day opening gap in here. So from where we opened yesterday and closed from yesterday, there's a volume imbalance in here. So we've dug into it once overnight, dropped down into it again. Good morning, Abraham. CZ, I mean, I'm not going to particularly start my stream just because of one person. I mean, I'm sorry. And I'm starting it at New York, so I mean, there's nothing else I could possibly do. You're talking about Charles Schwab? I don't have an opinion on that. So see if we want to reach up into these buy-side liquidity pools here. So inside at least the 1 minute when you're reading it, what have we done? We've taken out sell-side liquidity here. What do we do on a 15-minute time frame? We drop down into a discount. Look at the bodies, they're respecting this 15-minute inefficiency here. So let's go back to what I was talking about earlier with the silver bullet power of 3. If I was expecting higher prices, then I'm looking at the open and going, okay, then I should see a displacement lower first to set the low of the candle, and I should see a displacement above the open to move higher to set the high of the candle. So look at the 1 hour time frame and what I'm observing. Right, taking out sell side liquidity. What is this pattern? That's a 2022 model. Take out sell side liquidity, combine with power of 3 for silver bullet, set the low of the candlestick hour, displace higher. So far there's bullish SMT with YM made a lower low, and ES and NQ have both failed to make that lower low, so that's a bullish SMT. So I'd like to believe we're going to rally towards the buy side liquidity here. CZ, yeah, I appreciate it, brother. I mean, all of it's recorded. If you ever want to go back and watch it, I mean, it's all there. So look at the 5 minute in here. Just going to be annotating the buy side. Accidental. So what I'm looking at here is we have this old inefficiency there. Could draw that out of time, but more than likely it's just going to rally towards the buy side, and I have no feelings towards it. These type of days we're just tape reading and just getting your reps in, identifying price. Same as yesterday if you're on the live stream. But you should feel no emotions about it. It's just simply tape reading. Yeah, right, Dove. I mean, I don't know why it's not on here, but you can see with RTH, either A, you're going to utilize it as a draw on liquidity for price to fill it in, and it's going to reject away from it, or you can use it in the other instance where you can use it as a draw to short into. If it gets underneath it, you can utilize it as confluence to keep shorting, but sometimes you just dip into it and then we reject away from it. So beautifully, I mean, look at the low. Like, is that, that's not random. I perfectly filled it in with a new day opening gap. I mean, that's not, it's not random. So if, not if, I know we're going to run out the buy side here. I mean, no guarantees, but for me, once we get above that, this kind of becomes 50-50 because yesterday we have such a large range on the left side. Like this huge run up yesterday. The only other target would be this previous new day opening gap we could rally into, and then the high above it. So there's a couple old new week opening gaps as well. It's a little much in there for me. Yeah, Rummer. I mean, yeah, that's even a profile with NFP and FOMC. Sometimes it's gonna be like yesterday with FOMC. It was manipulated, but yet there was no entries, and they really didn't give much for people to get into price. So, going into, I guess, let me see here. I'd watch this inefficiency there, and then I was drawing out a inversion as well. So if you're ever wondering, okay, what's a high probability inversion? It's if you have a fair value gap that's in the same proximity as another fair value gap, an inversion will lend support, right? So you've seen me do this before. It's like a double criteria, double entry. Not double entry, just double confluence, right? See how this inversion is stacked right on top of that fair value gap. So what's a high this question, what's a high probability fair value gap? Well, if you have other confluences surrounding that fair value gap, then it makes it higher probability. Welcome everybody who's tuning in. If you could please like the video, I'd appreciate it very, very much. Subscribe as well. Chris, yeah, exactly. Bullish breaker on the 1 minute. Yep, I mean, we have a low, a high, a lower low, then a higher high. I would much rather utilize the inversion. I don't see it clear. I mean, you could utilize this last up close candle in here, but I'm going to just be looking at those two areas. Am I going to be entering off of this? No. Do I think we're going to utilize it to take out buy side? Yes, but per the protocol and per my rules, we're not trading today. So if you're looking for signals, if you're looking for that, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen today. And I'll see how many people end up leaving this live stream because of that. But if you have the discipline to just sit and tape read, days like today where you have the rules and the things outlined to you by ICT to not trade, I mean, it's a beautiful experience. It's very rewarding to sit and, be still and not do anything. Especially when you see something where you're like, man, I would have entered into that, but because those rules were there, it protected me from taking a loss. And that's what you're very happy, I'm happy about. Yeah, Marco, I mean, there's a difference between having kind of no bias or being neutral on a daily time frame, a weekly time frame. There's intraday biases and there's time biases, right? I know within a silver bullet hour, even if there's not a daily time frame bias, I can't clearly see it. I can still work within a 1 minute, a 1 hour time frame and work in a 1 minute framework and see the certain draws and liquidities. Like in here, this would be to me the draw and liquidity on a 1 minute time frame inside of a silver bullet. But after we draw to that, I don't particularly know on a higher time frame where we're really going to draw to. So that's where some people say you don't need narrative, you don't need a bias, you don't need to pay attention to higher time frame. But to me, obviously, that's very important because it makes everything easier. But on these very macro, very small time frames inside of time, a window, you don't necessarily need a narrative bias. You could just look at that 1 minute time frame framework. Oh, event horizon. Yeah, I mean, event horizon is the 50% in between new week opening gaps and old new week opening gaps. So that's in between those, you're going to find event horizon. My chart becomes a little bit too cluttered when I start doing all of that, but it's an interesting concept that he has. Accidental. Man, you're always asking for signals accidental. Yeah, I mean, Olga, I mean, most definitely I agree, but at times, again, like today, I don't really have a particular bias on the higher time frame, but I'm just looking at a 1 minute time frame and seeing, all right, this is the draw on liquidity. What rule to not take trades today? Well, per ICT, that's the day before NFP can be manipulated. Their price action can be a little less precise, lethargic, so his protocol is not to trade it. And this is the issue that people have, and even myself, I'm going to put myself in there, is I would think I'm smarter than him. And because I would observe days like today or even NFP, days where he told me not to trade, and I see a beautiful entry. I'm like, man, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to go into the market. I'm going to trade it. There's going to be off days. There's going to be days where your rules are in place and you follow them, and price still moves beautifully. And you're like, man, why didn't I trade that? Because if you look at it as in a whole over a course of a year, you getting that right or being onside is going to be less probable than you trading that every single day and being onside. I mean, this goes into discipline. Discipline is a bitch. Sometimes you just have to sit still and do nothing, and it hurts, right? But on the flip side, it can really, really help you and protect you. So there's two sides of the coin with discipline. No, it's just particularly new week opening gaps. I wouldn't pay attention to the 50% in between new day opening gaps. I wouldn't do that. At least that's not what he's taught. Yeah, typically Harvey, I mean, that's what he states. I mean, again, a dude with 30 years experience and everything that he's taught us, and he's telling you not to trade the day before NFP or whatever, days he tells you not to trade. I mean, I'm just going to follow those rules. I mean, some people like to be stubborn and think they're smarter than him and want to challenge that. Say, okay, well, if you challenge it, you're probably going to get your ass handed to you. And I've done that before too. So it's like, can you send me the settings for that? Here it is. Here is my settings. There's literally only one time frame daily with one candlestick. That's it. There's nothing else in here. The same thing for the left of me because I have the indicator on both. But it's the same thing. I just have the hourly. So we're inside of this 15-minute SIBI. Bullish order block here. I mean, gun to my head, I would believe we're going to run for buy side, but I would love for it not to do that, because it would be a great example of showing you guys, like, okay, this is why we don't trade these type of days. This is why we stay out of it and we steer clear. Like, I'd much rather this not work out than work. Just so I can showcase the idea of discipline and sitting still and doing nothing. And obviously, if it did work, it means nothing to me. Like, you should feel nothing when you're tape reading, whether you get something right or wrong. All you're doing is just practicing. You're just getting that mental reps in so you can pattern recognition better, right? And you're not invoking emotions into the equation. Because if I was inside of a trade, or if you're inside of a trade in here, you have a lot of emotions. You care. You have a stake in it. You care if it trades to the buy side. I don't care. If it trades to it, cool. It's just a study. But if it also drops beneath it, then I understand, all right, well, I followed my rules and discipline that said not to trade today. Yeah, RB, I guarantee you they did. And I mean, that's what they do on ICT's live streams. So they see any PD rate marked out and they immediately go long or short off of it, when that's not what you're supposed to be doing. The good student, the studious person, is just sitting and observing and doing the same thing I'm doing. Just observing price and just watching how it reacts to certain areas. Mitch, hey, I mean, on one hand, I find that very cool. I can't wait to have a son or a daughter and be able to teach them how to trade and be alongside them. But yeah, I mean, that's where stubbornness comes in, and I think we've all been there, where somebody tells us not to do something and we still do it. And you either have to learn the hard way or you learn from somebody telling you not to do it. Most of the time, that's where stubbornness and ego comes in. You think that you're smarter than the person telling you not to do something. Like, don't touch the hot stove, don't touch, whatever. And they still do it. So some people have to learn through immense amount of pain and suffering, like I do, because I don't really learn any other way. I had to lose for many years and suffer a lot of pain to finally be like, all right, man, I've had enough. Yeah, if you're like me, I mean, stubborn is a huge killer in this game, because you'll reach a point where you've had enough pain, you've had enough suffering, and you're like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done making the same mistakes. I'm done doing the stupid things. But that's a point that you have to come to personally. For how many years? I mean, I was unprofitable for like 4 years. I mean, it took me a long time. I also have a different path than probably many of you. I started out on different concepts than many of you for like a year and a half, 2 years. So kind of just depends. Beautiful example. Thank you for not going to the buy side. So RIP to all the people who just took that when I told you not to take it for that particular reason. So can you all see why we don't trade the day before NFP? Can we see that? Is that clear to you? I think it's pretty clear. That's actually a great question. How much of that is discipline and how much of that is fear to be hurt? I would say discipline is a huge part of that equation, but yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm fearful of, I'm scared of the things that I know I can, I'm scared of how bad I can do. Like I know how bad I can perform, and I'm scared of that version of myself ever coming out, which is good. I mean, you should be scared of your how bad mistakes you can make. I mean, I've blown accounts, I've done so much stupid stuff. I mean, those type of memories you need to journal and not detach away from. You need to keep them close to your chest. I mean, to me, I utilize fear as a motivation. Like I'm fearful of never being successful. I'm fearful of making the same mistakes over and over again and never being able to correct them. And I utilize that fear to motivate me not to do that. Oh, Justin, you just woke up, huh? Slacker. What time did you wake up? 9:20. You just hop on. Come over and beat the shit out of you. Where's the indicator that where to buy and sell? Sorry, CJ, you perma-fired. Yeah, either Vigo or Dog. You're both hired now. Hit me up for the mod spot. Mods, is it person how old? I'm 24. What age? I started when I was 18, so I'm about 6 years into it. I'm about to be 25 this year on Cinco de Mayo. And if you do bad, makes you doubt your skills. Yeah. Have you tried tick charts and trade ICT? No, I'm pretty sure I've tried. I think you're talking about like bars, right? Bars is a really good. This opened up my eyes to Power of Three. I couldn't really understand Power of Three for a long time. But as soon as somebody showed me the bar chart, I think it was ICT, especially on a daily time frame, Power of Three was like, oh, that's a super easy concept to understand. I know this may be out there for some people, but if you're just looking at the bar chart in Power of Three, like this is the open, high, low, close, open, high, low, close. Today, open, low, high, and then we'll see where we close. So if you're ever wondering about Power of Three, I think the bar chart will really help you compared to a candlestick. DK, I think that's just on your end. I got 204 likes. I mean, if we can bump up the likes, I appreciate it. That'd be great. Blink twice of your trouble. I got him tied up. Yeah, he probably did this in probably 2022 mentorship. I forgot about that in terms of teaching people. I think it's actually really good. Yeah, I know ticks are probably different when in doubt. Yeah. Yeah, lots. I mean, I think a lot of young people are into trading, obviously. I mean, compared to older. I mean, utilize being young to your advantage. I mean, I'm grateful that I dug deep throughout 18 all the way to 24, and all I did was grind this out. I mean, I never really got distracted. I never got away from it. I constantly was in the charts. I mean, a lot of people ask me, my friends, what are you doing? I don't understand what you're doing. It's like, I didn't really care because I understood that where this was going to take me. And it's great being young because it could take you 6 years to be profitable and you're still 24 years old like me. I'm still young as shit. So, but if somebody's, in their, I hate to say that, but if you're in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, you don't have a lot of time left. And this takes a lot of time to get profitable. So, utilize being youthful to your advantage. And Q looks like it's going to run. Yeah. And even if it does, again, I have no feelings towards it. It's not like, oh man, I saw that. Like, I probably would have been stopped out in here. Again, it's not as precise. The precision is not there on days before NFP. Because on a regular day where everything is crisp, it's smooth, I would elect to believe that we would utilize this fair value gap to target the buy side. We're not going to have deeper retracements than normal. There's not going to be a lot of lethargic price action. So it's harder for me to get into the market on these type of days because the precision is not there. I don't know what to expect. Neither does ICT. So that's not just coming out of my mouth, that's coming out of our mentors. Yep, my friend's still wasting time and doing dumb shit. Yeah, trust me, I've had to cut off so many people. The only people I surround myself with are people that are actually trading, to be honest, that want to succeed in life and do something. Otherwise, I don't really care. I don't want to talk to you. Sounds harsh, sounds brutal, but honestly, I don't care. It's the hardest thing to do, to cut off childhood friends and people that don't want to better their lives. But those people don't pay your bills. So there's a lot of questions, but finding support from parents and friends can be quite difficult. Losing accounts, obviously they don't know. Yeah, that's why you don't tell people about it. Like, try to keep it as private as possible. Fortunately, I had a very good supporting parents that for some reason understood what I'm doing. I don't know why, but they've always believed in me and what I was always, going towards. And I think just showing them consistency. Like, if you're waking up every single day, you're grinding this out, you're improving yourself, the way you speak, the way you talk, the way you act, even physically, like, going to the gym and getting in really good shape. Those type of things are indications from, obviously trading and disciplining yourself. Like, I'm in extremely good shape, but that, when people see that, it's not just like, oh, he's in really good shape. That shows that you have discipline, you have self-love. There's something underneath all of that, right? Like, being in good shape, man, I can't express that enough, how much that speaks volume, especially with men. Like, you see a really good in shape dude, that dude has some level of confidence, discipline. He's going somewhere in life. He's doing something. And to me, the gym has always been such a great use in my life. I can't recommend it anymore, especially for trading. I don't know how people don't go to the gym while they trade. All that frustration, all that anger is let out in the gym for me. So we've taken out buy-side liquidity here. Again, you should feel nothing about it. There's nothing that I feel. There's no emotions. It's just simply tape reading and like, oh, cool, it delivered to it. All right. I just tell them I'm doing drugs. Yeah, I can't wait to open up a kind of a private community. And I've done it once before and I'm still with the same people. I don't know, Brian, you're still in here. I'm still with the same people that opened up a private group about a year ago. I stuck with them because they're just good, like-minded people to be around. They're people that just actually want to grind this out. That's the only people I want to surround myself with. I'm trying to keep up with the chat. There's a lot of messages. Yeah, Flatwood. Whatever. A strong body is a strong mind. Whether that's going to the gym, whether that's doing whatever physical activity. But if you want to harden your mind, you want to callous your mind, do something that is physically tiring, that's hard, that's difficult. Whether that's MMA, boxing, biking, swimming, jumping, I don't care. But something that challenges your mind. because that creates self-discipline, and that's going to transpire into your trading. Hey, appreciate you, Brian. Like, again, I mean, you understand from that group. I mean, having like-minded people around you, that like that whole group we're inside of, everybody's always there every single day, grinding, giving good ideas, helping each other. Like, if I was only ever to help a small group of people, I'd perfectly be fine with that, because I don't need a bunch of people that don't actually want to be successful in this endeavor. Like, people that are just half-assing it, kind of want to do it, kind of don't. I don't want to be around that. Either you're full in or you're full out. I'm going to die being successful at this. That's my mentality. And if you're not on the same boat, I particularly don't care. Like, that's the way I view it. That's a great point as well, Flatwood. I mean, your health is number one. Yeah, Jay. And I hope, I mean, I could create that type of group. Particularly every group I've been in or created, I've always tried to create a good culture around it. Yeah, exactly, Brian. I mean, people that just are in here for signals and just want to take trades and don't want to learn, I mean, obviously they're probably never going to make it very far in anywhere in life. I mean, to be honest with you. So you just want handouts. Which, I mean, it's crazy how much free information there is to learn this stuff. I mean, it's insane. If you just dig deep and do a few years of work and suffer a little bit, I mean, you could be very successful. You'll look back in 2 years, 3 years, if you just put your head down and work, and you'll be like, man, like, time flew by, I'm already this far, I'm this successful, like, it really wasn't that hard. As far as pricing here, the reason I'm really not talking about it again, I mean, it's the reason why we don't trade the day before NFP. I mean, I'm just observing price, and that's all we're really doing. And to me, there's just nothing in here that I would engage with, I would do anything with. Hey, Richard, yeah, I mean, Sam, yeah, and that's a great motivation, you know. There's a great quote, burning the boats. I actually received this when I was in high school, and, you know, we were playing a team that we haven't beaten 20 years, and basically our coach was saying, I forget the exact story or the passage of it. I believe it was some Vikings that the captain, they sailed across the sea to this island to, you know, invade this village or whatever it was, and they're outnumbered, and the captain burned all of their boats, so they had no way of retreating. They burned every boat that they had. So, and they ended up winning because they had no other plan B. There was no other way to get out of that situation. So if you have another plan B, you have another way out. And times get hard, you know, water gets hard. You're gonna opt out of it. You're gonna go to that plan B that's easier. And I don't have another plan B. I dropped out of college. I don't have any other, you know, I have a high school education, but I mean, that's it. Like, this is a do or die thing for me. And that's for many of you probably the same thing. Yeah, because I mean, I'm full of the psychology things, man. I could rant days and days about it. And that's really what you need. Trading is long. Yep, Tom. I mean, actually, when I started ICT, or not started ICT, I started trading. I was inside of a pyramid scheme or multi-level marketing, and I started with about 20 people, like, that all traded, and that dwindled down to about 5 people, and then that dwindled down to me. Like, it was crazy to see how many people stopped doing this. Like, they're all super excited. Oh, we're gonna get rich. I'm gonna be so good at trading, and as soon as things got hard, they just stopped doing it. They're like, I'm gonna opt out. I'm gonna go back to college. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And I mean, on the flip side, you know, trading isn't meant for everybody. It is a very niche mindset and a skill set that you have to be willing to endure. You'll know if this is meant for you. I mean, obviously, for the most part, probably everybody in this chat's meant for trading, but you can only really see that probably after like a year. But once the bug bites you, it never leaves you alone. It'll always be itching at you. And Harris, I know if you're in here, I know for you, most definitely. That's awesome. I mean, you really only need one person to, support you, and even if nobody else supports you, man, that's as long as you believe in yourself. I got you, Flatwood. Yeah, Tal, I'm gaining some new internet friends in here, and I'm gonna have to leave you. Tage, that's awesome. Again, don't compare anybody. Don't compare, your timeline to anybody else's. Because I mean, when I was 3 years in, 4 years in, I'm like, man, I'm not finding any traction. I never really cared. Like, I just always had this delusional belief that I was gonna make it, and I still obviously do. I mean, I'm still not really where I want to be. Obviously, I still want to accomplish 6, 7, 8 figures in this industry. So I mean, but I think being delusionally confident is always good, man. I mean, I've always been delusionally confident in myself. Candlesticks is like cocaine. How many Ict-Concepts? I mean, I trade them all. That's awesome. I mean, you can see a lot of people in here. But you really do have to, if you are delusionally confident in this, you have to be approaching it in a smart way. I mean, this is, in a sense, it can be glorified gambling. If you're not treating this like a business, you're not doing the right steps. That's the reason why I talk about psychology a lot and prepping a lot of you to do the right thing, because, I mean, you could fail at this for the rest of your life. You could end up never being successful at this because you're not correcting the same mistakes and the same things that you're doing incorrectly. I mean, ICT has given us the best things that you could possibly ever trade. And I will go to bat and I will argue with anybody. I've traded all different sort of concepts. These are the most precise, most perfect concepts you could ever come across. But then again, you could still fuck it all up if you're not disciplining yourself. You're not doing the right things. You could fail at this for the rest of your life and never be successful. And that should scare the living shit out of you. It does for me. Yeah, exactly, Oki. I mean, everybody's trading plan and approach to the market is different. I mean, but obviously somebody who's coming from a more experienced place, I mean, I'm trying to lend you that experience and what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. Yeah, I can see that. I can see myself doing this for the rest of my life. I mean, I could see myself at 7 years old sitting down. And then again, I don't really know what this life and the world where we're at. I don't know at 70 years old. I don't know what life would be looking like. I don't know if the whole world's going to be nuked and we're all going to blow up. But I don't worry about those things. You can't worry about looking 50 years into the future. But I also agree I could be 80 years old and I'll still be on these charts. But who knows? I may be in like a VR world. I may be swimming in the candlesticks. Who really knows? Like where technology is going, I have no idea. We may be in all one virtual reality Zoom call or some shit. I don't know. Instead of a live stream. When are you planning on starting a private mentorship? I mean, I want to do like at least another month of live streaming. I want to gain a little bit more traction on YouTube, and it's hard, man. I mean, it's harder for somebody. I hate to say this. It's harder for somebody who's a little bit less like flamboyant and clickbait titles and all of that to gain traction. I just feel very disingenuous. I feel unauthentic doing all of that. I mean, I very well could. I could easily create 10, 15, 20 videos of clickbait, 90% win rate model. I feel very disingenuous. I don't feel authentic. I don't feel it. Just my heart's not there to do that. So I have to take the hard route, which I've always done, which is creating the content that I know actually helps people, and I know is harder to gain traction in social media, likes and followers. But I can't do that, man. I don't know. I mean, I just don't feel right doing it. If you look at my whole page, I mean, I have one video that's like semi clickbait, which is like charter member models. But even then, so that's still an actual useful video. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying. Like, I feel corny doing it. I just my heart's not there, man. I can't do it. Yeah, Roberto. I mean, I don't even think that's like a sexist comment at all, because I mean, people say that women traders. I mean, there there's a lot less of them, but every single one that I've seen, man, are they blown up. And I think that's because a lot of dudes they in this industry are they're lonely, and they they want to sip over women. Which I got nothing, obviously, against women trading. It's just the phenomenon that I see. Yeah, exactly, guy. Yep, Russo, thank you. And I know that. I know, like, and again, if I never blow up and I never have massive clout, I mean, I don't care, because even again, like Brian, like those type of people that like I've mentored a small group, I'm still with them, and they're still like just amazing people, man. Like even if it's just a small group of people, it's like that means more to me than having the whole world be you. I mean, it's just cool to have genuine good connections with people that genuinely want to succeed. That means more to me than having masses of people that they're so, right? So I know this live stream is not super about technicals today, and I mean it's what I anticipated, but I guess it's a good discussion and too many Simpsons. Yeah, yeah. He's in UTC 6 or UTC 5. I'm sorry, that's New York Standard Time. I get this question a lot, which I understand. I just place my time zone to Central, because I when I'm back testing, I'm forward testing or whatever. I know, like, okay, it's 9 o'clock my time. I I get confused putting it on New York personally. I know ICT harps on it, but personally, I mean, if you're in your own time zone and it's completely away from New York, I mean, I would set it to your own time zone. Like, I still know when the open is. It's the market's going to open at 8:30 my time. It's going to open at whatever 10:30 what your time, 9:30 New York Standard Time. So we all know when the market opens. Like for me, it's just better to look at. Roberto, that's amazing, man. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. When people, students, quote unquote, I call them people students, but people that watch my content and they, find success out of it and they utilize the things I'm saying, it's awesome feeling, man. Like, I hope that all of you can mentor other people and show them the ropes, and you can find that same feeling, because it's the reason why I do it. I mean, yes, mentoring people and eventually gaining money and residual income is great, but I mean, to change somebody's life in a sense, I mean, in the end, you're the one changing your own life, but to at least be a part of that is very, very cool, man. Yeah, Russ, I mean, I know ICT always says to always put on New York Standard Time, but I have a different belief in that. I think setting your time zone to your time is beneficial, because I would get lost and confused if I was setting it to a different time zone. I'd be like, I don't get it. It's all right, Kevin. Hope university's doing well for you. Man, do I relate to that. Coming back from classes and hopping on Trading View or hopping on some type of video and watching that after class, I was like, man, this is so much better than learning about whatever the hell I was learning about, algebra. It's all stupid. Christian, most definitely. Most definitely. Even a full-time job. I mean, if you can find a job where you start at the later portions of the day, that would be ideal. Like, I've always, throughout my career, I've always centered my jobs around trading. Like, even with a part-time job or a full-time job, if you can start at noon, end at 9, or start in the later portions of the day, that's the best case scenario, because at least you can trade New York session. You can still get everything you need done and then go work your job. Having a job is essential. Don't listen to anybody else telling you you should quit your job after you make a little bit of money. You need at least 50K. I would say, if you're like me who's younger, I would say 50K net in your bank And even then some. I mean, to go full time on this, I mean, it's still good to have a part-time job or whatever, even if you have 50K, 100K in the bank. Like, it's just to have that security. Like, you know, I don't have to make money this week. I don't have to push to make money because it's all I'm relying on. I mean, if you look at any person who's full-time doing this, I mean, they usually have a bunch of money in the bank. They have a lot of assets. They're fine. They're not pressed to make money. But if you only have like a couple grand to your name and you quit your job because you think you're going to make a bunch of money from this, I mean, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not going to happen. You're going to psychologically be pressured to do a lot of trading because you need to. But it's just stupid. Like, for the most part, you're going to work a job for a long time, in my opinion. I would work a job for a very long time until you had enough capital and enough money to trade with and enough money in your bank to be fine, to be comfortable. Otherwise, work a job. Suck it up. It is what it is. Like, everybody screams about entrepreneurship and how jobs suck and blah, blah, blah. It's like, jobs are fantastic, man. Like, they're there to support you, especially throughout this endeavor. Let me go back in the chat. Yeah, I know ICT said that to teach people. I mean, but my time zone is only 1 hour off from his, so I mean, and again, if you're sitting down watching these live streams, you know whatever time zone, like it's 9:48 my time, it may be 10:48 your time, it may be 8:48 your time. But we're all still sitting down at the same time relatively and looking at the same chart, so you know what time it is, you know what we're doing. Like somebody asked me, you know, somebody commented on my last live stream was like, "Bro, why don't you're not trading the silver bullet?" I was like, "Dude, yes I am. It's just a different time zone." But if you're sitting there during the live stream, obviously you knew it was the silver bullet, regardless of what time was on my screen. I got you, Nico. I mean, everybody has different situations and life situations. Yeah, Jay. How do I feel about funded programs? I think they're fantastic. When I first was in this industry in 2018, 2019, man, like FTMO was just coming up, and I didn't even know about FTMO. I mean, by then everybody was trading their own money. Everybody was trying to build accounts with like 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, and then these all started to pop off. And I think they're fantastic. I don't know how long they're going to be around, but utilize them because trading somebody else's money is much better than trading your own. Because if you had 100K net in the bank and then you put that into a trading account, well, yeah, that's great. You have a large trading account, but now you have no money in your bank account. So if you were to have 100K of somebody else's money and you have 100K of your own, then you're fine. So utilize other people's money. Think long term, man. I mean, I'm gonna be getting into Darwin X, which is a like, um, it's a prop firm in a sense, but they regulate and they calculate all of your statistics and data over time, and then eventually you can get to a tier where it gives all your information out to investors. And I want to get to that point where I'm trading large fund money, right? You're trading brick and mortar money, whatever you're going to a brick and mortar prop firm. You're utilizing other people's money to your advantage because that's the best way to get rich in this industry, in my opinion, rather than building your own. But Darwin X, I'm waiting for their futures or futures program to come out. I don't want to be trading their indices, to be honest. Darwin X, I can link it in the chat. Some of you are going to look at it and be like, I don't understand it, but because you only get 15%, it's like a prop firm, you only get 15% of the profits. But I don't care about the profits. The whole point of it is building a track record that's verified, that you could send to a third party, to an investor, somebody that has a large sum of money, and they do that for you. So you have to think in terms of like long term, of like how much money you really want to manage. Yeah, Danny, my only beef with them is they're doing MT5 futures, which I didn't even know was a thing. I don't know why they're not doing it off of like, I don't know, like Trade-Evade or Rhythmic or something like that. It's kind of a weird thing. I didn't know that futures exist on MT5, but I guess I'm gonna have to take it because I'd much rather trade copy from my Rhythmic account and just place it on there. It's kind of my only issue with them right now. I just asked the guy yesterday, still don't have like an estimated time on it. Yeah, and especially if regulation starts to step in, which you're seeing right now with FTMO, my Forex funds, all of these people are getting regulated by, um, by authorities, because to me, at least in the U.S., we're not in an actual broker. We're not legally able to trade indices. So like US 100, US 30, US 500, we're not able to trade that legally. But through prop firms, it was like a loophole. So I always thought, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like that's like a kind of a loophole. It's weird. AMP Global has futures up to 55. So I'm not surprised. Yeah, I would much rather not use MT5. I'd much rather not do that. I don't know. MetaTrader just gives me the ick, man. I've parted ways with MetaTrader a long time ago. I don't want to be trading on that. Yeah, I guess so, Danny. I wish hopefully they introduce something like that, but because it'd be nice to just go on Quant Tower and trade my other accounts, and then it'd be linked to it. Yeah, I mean 50%. I've dealt with some other private investors that only gave me, I think it was 20% I got out of it, but it's still fine if you're trading, $1 million, $5 million, and you get 15, 20% of those profits. I mean, it's still a good amount of money. And of course, you can just trade copy and link it with other prop firms. Okay, I got you, Danny. Well, I guess, yeah, that would be my question, Danny. Does it allow TradingView? Would that allow, or is that only going to be on, is AMP Global only going to be on MT5? Or could I link it to TradingView? If that's the case, then man, that's gonna be great. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like just as far as charting, it's kind of execution's fine. Do I prefer Quant Tower over an Trader? Yeah. Okay, I got you. So it's not like clearly defined. So yeah, I mean, we took out buy side liquidity here, dropping lower. I mean, again, would this be something that you're really wanting to be a part of? I personally don't want to be a part of any of this. That's why the protocols are set in place for us not to trade these type of days. I mean, sure, if somebody had a gun to my head and I had to participate in this type of price action, then yes, I would be trying to be in here and doing something, but there isn't a gun to my head. I don't have to trade. I don't have to make money. And I'm probably going to get it wrong if I try to participate in a day like today. So you shouldn't feel any type of emotions about price moving right now. Did I take a trade today? Nope. Yeah, I know, dude. US has got some crazy regulation on us. Death is interesting. I know. MT5 and trading, because I mean, you can trade copy like a Wanda to your. You can take a Wanda and you could trade copy it, but I don't know. I don't know how that would work in terms of futures trade copying. I'm gonna have to figure that out. Do private investors also give you like a challenge similar to a prop firm? How does the process work with those? I mean, no. That's where just having a track record, having a verified track record where you can just go to a private investor and be like, hey, like this is my return on years of, that you've been trading. This is how consistent. This is what you should expect. And they'll probably start you out with some type of capital, and they see you doing well, then they'll probably give you more. I mean, that was my experience at least. On a different day, would you have traded the breaker? I don't know which one you're talking about, either the bearish or the bullish. I mean, it's hard to say. But I mean, again, on these type of days before NFP, as ITT stated, the precision is not there. So I can't anticipate or act as if it's a regular day. I don't know what to expect because the precision may not be there. I don't know how it's going to react. So having the foresight to anticipate, yeah, I mean, you have to also think is we're not only protecting our own money, our own capital, but we're also protecting our mental. All those mental tokens I talk about, where I'm not spending them, I'm not cashing them in. On a week like this week, I mean, in previous years, I'd be trying to press hard every single day, taking multiple trades a day, and I'm just wearing myself out. So by the time next week comes and price starts to clear up and it's nice, it's easy, I'm already spent mentally. And then I'm not there. I'm not able to really participate in good price action. Yeah, I think having a why is very important. You know why you're doing this and keeping that in the forefront of your mind when things get hard and difficult is, you know, why am I doing this? Why am I trading? It's not just for money. It's got to be obviously something deeper. Yeah, Jay. I mean, so I plan on moving out to Florida this year, so I don't have to be inside of winter anymore, man. I hate the winter. Like my mood and everything else is so much better in sunny, beautiful weather. And that goes for all of us for the most part. So we're about to end the silver bullet hour in here. As I said, nothing too significant, nothing to really make note of. I mean, we annotated the buy side being taken there. And I mean, there's just really not a clear breaker in here to me. I mean, I see the pattern of it, but I'd have to maybe compress it into a different time frame. I mean, technically it would be this last up close candle here. Again, the precision is just not particularly there. So we may want to trade down on the sell side in here. New day opening gap, sell side in there. I mean, if we go out to a daily time frame, again, I don't, it's 50-50 to me. I mean, we're inside of a weekly bullish PD array, fair value gap. We're inside the daily, inside of the 4 hour. But looking at in terms of, we go over to dollar index, it's not providing much today, obviously, but this whole week. But I would like to believe going into tomorrow and possibly next week, I would like to believe we're going to see higher prices on it, just looking at it, and that would push index futures and everything off lower. So I'm just utilizing intermarket relationships to kind of gain a semi-read on it. Inner Circle J. Yeah, I mean, I plan on moving to Naples. Some people have some opinions on it. I have to go out there and look for myself. Some people are saying it's a little too laid back, but it's kind of what I want. I don't want to be around degenerate people. ICT just took the same trade. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure he took a trade today, and that's the issue I've always had with him is he says not to do something, and then he'll take a trade and show you that you can, like, it's such a bad way to mentor, in my opinion. It's the only beef I have with him. It's like, if you're going to set an example and say not to do something, then don't trade. Don't do that thing that you said not to do, because what you're telling every student of yours is that you can trade in these conditions when your rule set is not to trade in those conditions. I mean, I've seen it plenty of times, you know, don't trade, like today, don't trade the day before NFP. Takes execution, shows that it's like, man, you're not setting a good example for these students, man. It's to me, that's, if you're going to tell somebody not to do something, don't do it. Stay south of Tampa. Okay. Better infrastructure. Yeah, I know, like hurricanes and stuff. Old soul you are. Yeah, I mean, I swear trading has aged me so much. I mean, it makes you so much more mature because you realize that you need to have a good life around trading. Like, I can't be out partying. I can't be out doing these things that people my age are doing because that influences me. That influences my trading and my career. We all have the fruit. Oh, really? Okay. See, I mean, again, everybody says, like, Naples is this or that, but, I mean, I'm going to have to go down and see me and Justin. Roberto, awesome, man. Have a good day. Good to see you in here. Yeah, I mean, you take the pros and the cons with ICT. As over the years, I mean, if you've been studying him, you understand that he's got a chemical imbalance. I'm not saying that's an excuse of any sort, but it's one thing that I've learned from mentors is that, of course, I've learned from them as far as technically, but the way they act and the way they carry themselves, most of them, they have a huge issue when it comes to trading. This goes for a lot of people is an ego thing, because it's like you want to show off, you want to showboat to everybody. But then again, I'm not in his shoes. I mean, imagine being somebody that possesses his power. I mean, most of you could not. I couldn't possess it. I'd probably be doing the same thing, if not 10x what he's doing. I'd probably be in everybody's face trying to show off. So again, I'm not wearing his shoes, so I can't really criticize the man. Wazy, my brother, I'm doing good. I hope you're doing well too. Hope the week is. I mean, it really hasn't been that fruitful. I know if you're trading even the dollar index has been garbage. Yeah, right, Danny. I couldn't imagine. But then again, everybody that criticizes him, I mean, I couldn't imagine, like, again, let's just, for the people that don't believe or do believe, I mean, imagine somebody that knows this algorithm or had a participation in creating it, and you could pull off $11,000 or 11,000%, 20,000% runs. I mean, think about the power you possess. I mean, that is an insane amount of power to possess. I mean, it's unreal. I mean, I can understand. I mean, I'm surprised he's as level-headed as he is, and he's obviously in the outside world he ain't that level-headed. But again, it's all perspective. If you handle that to anybody else, I don't think they would be able to handle it. It's a crazy thing. Be lethally egotistical. Yeah, I mean, even somebody like me. I mean, there's times where I want to go and go at people and showboat, but then again, it's like it means nothing to me. Like it doesn't satisfy anything. It's a dead end. I mean, who really cares, man? We're all egotistically driven at some point or another, but it's the way you contain it. Cyber buckets, yeah. I mean, I'm hands off. I ain't doing nothing with this. Yeah, Mitch. I mean, it's also the beginning of the year. Danny, if you're still in here, isn't that Alex guy? I mean, that dude. I've seen some fishy stuff about that dude. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, Robin's Cup is legit, but again, if you're new, man, this industry is mm, it's so manipulated and it's so evil at times because like prop firms will pay people. They'll literally pay people if they have a large following to say they've been paid out by these people with fake profits, do interviews with them to make them seem legit. I mean, some of these people are straight up scumbags. I mean, they're not good, man. Sweatshop Alex, yeah. I mean, this industry is very manipulated, man. You have to keep your head on a swivel. Like that's the reason why everybody's super critical of ICT or everybody else, because I mean, it's easy to fake a lot of stuff. It's very easy, man. I could easily fake multiple. Man, you know how easy it is if I went into my paper trading account. Let's say today, I could have taken 2, 3, 4 losses in here, reset the paper trading account so you don't see the executions, then sell at the very high, and close out at the very low and be like, yep, that was my execution today, and you would have no idea. I mean, you could create like 100 different paper trading accounts, never show this paper trading, delete your executions. I mean, even with the MT4 executions, you know how easy that is to actually even just draw on an execution line, edit that. I mean, all of that is, it's so easy. It's so easy to manipulate people. And I know that. I mean, but I'm not going to do it, obviously. That's the reason why live trading is like one of the most authentic ways. Or like the Robbins Cup. I mean, those are like the two most authentic ways to prove that you can trade. And to me, I think live streaming is number one. Because you see it raw. I mean, there's no hiding. I can't run away from it. Alex, yeah, I think the dollar index it's very, very crucial. It very helps my analysis. But as I discussed before, if dollar index is inside of consolidation, I mean, it's not something that's super useful to me. I'm not going to look at the micro movements unless we're clearly one-sided on dollar and it's correlating with, you know, index futures and everything else is in sync. Then I'll utilize it to my advantage. But congrats on passing your funded challenge. Make sure to dial back your risk, move smartly about it. Yeah, like Reaper, I saw the video, but then again, I was so content already with my knowledge that I don't need anything else. It became a point where I was like, I don't need anything else. I've graduated. Yeah, guy. I mean, again, it's funny to me because I know this stuff. I've seen it. I've seen so many scammers. I've been scammed. I know how easy it is. But for a newer student, you have no idea. You think that these people are really that good, but question everybody. Question everything. Really dig deep. What is their intention behind their profile? What are they trying to sell you? Think about it. Be very critical thinking on social media, even of your favorite influencer, even of me. How do I get one big candle? Since that's only been asked like once today. It is the ICT higher time frame candle indicator. Here's my setting for it. I would say so, but I mean, then again, I compare live streaming trading to like somebody who's live streaming video games. I mean, somebody that's really good at Call of Duty in private, and then they go on a live stream. I mean, they're probably going to play the same way. They're probably going to do the same thing. The only difference with trading is psychology in terms of like money, but then again, there's psychology to video games than anything else you're live streaming. So I mean, to me, it's like I'm doing the same stuff I would do in private. So I don't see the reason why you can't live stream it. The only thing would be like a live chat and getting distracted. Every day somebody asks about that candle. Yeah, it's. I think somebody should keep a tally on it. See what we get to by the end of these live streams. I would guess 1,000 times that's been asked. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up for today. I don't want to carry this on too long. I really appreciate everybody tuning in today. Hopefully you guys are able to learn why we don't trade these type of days before NFP and what to expect, what to anticipate, what you should be doing. Just tape reading, chilling out, those type of things. So appreciate all you guys. I will be here tomorrow for NFP, and we'll see what happens then. So have a good rest of your day, everybody.